let's turn that a little bit more there. We have our lens on. And I got a variety of different things I could use. Again, inside, I tend to use a shorter. Also, it's not just staff. A lot of these are kind of more spear-oriented. Now here is a walking stick I kind of got from the Nachi waterfall. There's a clear point here, okay? This is something I found on the beach of Kauai. You know, it's somebody was using it as a walking stick. They just left it. I went, oh, I kind of like this one. All right. Okay. And this, something I had fashioned, is a 3-section spear. The photo that's on the certificate is a picture of Osensei with his 3-sided spear. Okay, now with things you notice, you can learn from photos. The slant to the body. And he's pointing skyward for the thrusting motion. Okay. So we'll switch back and forth, but one of the things we're doing right here is the movements can be done as staff. I'll give myself a hit on the picture, okay? But it's designed also for spear. With spear, you know, you've got to do a move, and all of a sudden you got to watch that. If it's staff, you hit yourself, but if it's spear, you must move in ways. And conversely, I'm thrusting, but the thrust creates a spiral, and the movement of your hips creating the spiral powers the thrust. Boom. So it gets you out of the way of an incoming thrust or an incoming strike cut. Boom. That's the basis of irimi and the basis of taisabaki, body changing. So, easiest one for me is this one. I kind of like this one. So. Okay, so going through, what is this? Oh, it's 30 movements. Okay, so if we were, we could take them 10 by 10 by 10, go all the way through. Okay, so going through the first. Movement number 1. Right hand on the staff, left hand on your lower tummy. Movement number 2, adding here. Now you see I'm starting with, I'm going to my right. And it's an upward spiral. Movement number 3, see I'm going to my left, it's a down spiral. Movement number 4, boom. Bring it right here and right here. Boom. I'm going to slant a little bit. Movement number 5. Boom. Ready position. Movement number 6. Thrust. Boom. Movement number 7. I'm moving to my left. 7 is both up and down. Boom. 8 is rethrust. That's easy to forget. Movement number 9 is a change of size and hand grip. Boom. Movement number 10 is going to the other side. Okay, so that's 1 through 10. Okay, 1 through 10. Let's go through that one more time. I'll do that facing the same direction as you if we're leaving the class. Movement number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Now we've been working on that. So what I'm going to do is just have you try that a couple times on your own. Okay, now, so that's the first 10. Okay, now there'd be a tendency, you know it. Then we add more movements and then you forget it. That's part of the process. Okay, in other words, it's at a point where it's repeatable. But part of the misogi is running over yourself. I know this, but we're going to go on to the next 10. And then you might forget parts of the first 10. Okay, it's about winning over yourself. Okay, now what I'd like to do is anybody with a question on 1 through 10. Okay, we've covered that lately. Okay, so we're going to go through. I'm going to re-spotlight myself just so I always miss on that. Okay. Okay, now this is 10. Now all the movements from 5 through 10 are in what I call the ikkyo hand change. Thumbs face away. With thrust, up and down, re-thrust. 4 strikes, the thumbs are facing away. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. Now, I'll do this slightly at an angle, and we'll change. 11, the thumbs face each other. That's Nikkyo. What I'm turning to my right, covering my head and center line. That's 10, 11, 12, thrust in that Nikkyo position. 13, boom, strike. 14 is the shift, thumbs towards you, thrust back. 15, thrust here, thumbs face you, is Sankyo. Now we go back to the second change. This is 16. 17, boom. Not drop your weight, but now thumbs face each other. 18 is a thrust back. 19, thrust forward. 20 is very important. This goes this way. Make sure you rotate your hip, put the sharp end of the spear here, and step back. Okay? All right, so we're going to go through it again. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Rotate the hip, put this here, don't. And then step back, 20. Okay? Now what we're going to do is, I want you to try movements 11 through 20 on your own. Okay, let's check in. So we're just going through it. Anybody with a question on movements 11 through 20?
Movement 11.
Yeah.
When you come up here and you're turning, at what point does this hand come up here so that it's like this?
Well, I make the change right here. But the major, what I'm doing, see, somebody's coming in, like they're gonna whack your head, right? What you're doing is you're turning, boom, covering the head. Once you deflect it, you're stepping in, boom, and then adding that motion.
So what I'm specifically asking is, at what point does the right hand move to the end of the staff?
You don't even need to do that. But the problem is when you're here, you have less length there. So I would say right here. Right here, I would slide it. Because right here, that's a contact surface. I put it here, it's going to get, so we put the hand over here as I turn, boom, okay, slide now. Okay, does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you, Sensei.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I didn't know that. I just go this way, boom, right? Details are important. Got to get the details right. But the details come out of a flow. Okay? Okay, now, anybody else with a question 11 through 20? Anybody? Okay, no questions, we're gonna go. Guess what? We go 1 through 20. Okay? Movement number 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll slant them at 5, 6, 7, both up and down. 8, boom. 9, boom. 10, boom. Now 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? We'll do it once more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okay? Now try the first 20 moves. Okay, let's check in. How's everybody with that? Sometimes, you get the first 10, but you get the second 10, but when you try to do the first 20, it's harder. And maybe that way, it may not be.
For me, it's not that way. I start to forget where all the hands go after about 15 or 16.
That's correct. That's why it is a misogi gyo. Okay, in other words, it's a kata. You're just going to eventually get it, and then you associate a number with a move. You go 1 through 30, and you can do it. But your actual capacity to flow or potentially lead, okay, is going to demand a certain amount of individual work. You see what I mean? Yeah, in other words, it may not. Some people can catch stuff pretty quick. But the problem is a lot of times you catch it pretty quick, you lose it pretty quick. And so, part of this is you can pass a test and then never do it again. And that's okay. You can get a certification, but you continue to work on it. That's why we're going to have 4 levels. Okay? But that's a very important point. Right now, you've got it right about to the middle of. Okay? So let's go one more time, 1 through 20. Okay? So we're going to do that. Okay. Movement number 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll slant a little bit. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. Okay, now I want you to try it again. Movement 1 through 20. Okay, finish what you're on. Finish what you're on.
I think I may have actually more or less kind of done it right.
Okay, good. Anybody else with a question or comment? Movements 1 through 20. See, what happens is that we retain information, and then we get information overload. And then our initial information goes kaput. So part of learning the 30 movements is handling that. You have the information, but it's more than just information, it's part of you. Okay? Anybody else? Question or comment? Let's go to 21 through 30, which is actually my favorite part. Okay, so I'll slant a little bit. (21), 22. 22 is the Gokyo change. See the thumb here? That's like Gokyo. If you make Ikkyo, the blade cuts you. So you go this way, turn the blade away, and do the motion. It looks like Ikkyo, but it's Gokyo. Okay? So, 21. Now, right here, 22 is a two-handed figure 8. It goes right. Now it goes to the left side, and it goes boom, boom, and then it comes back boom. This boom, okay? 1, boom. left side, boom, boom, boom. Let's say boom, boom. Okay. "21, 22, boom. 23, gonna step back, cover the head. This is EQ position. 24, thumbs face down, step back. Okay. Okay. Let's go through that again. 21, 22, 20, whoops, 21, 22, 23, 24 is the step back, 25, 26 is simply a turn, no step, cover. This is EQ position, thumbs away. 27, thumbs face away. Now 28, you grip, turn, pivot, strike. It's 28. 29, same thing, thumb space, you can go this way. So I rotate the hip, put the spear point this way, right hand thumb away, left thumb towards you, step back. Now I'll do it slanting this way. Okay. 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Okay, go through it again. This time I'll do it facing this direction. Okay. 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, now 28, boom, 29, and 30. Okay, now I'd like you to try 21 through 30 on your own.
I think I got 21 and 23.
Okay, all right. Anybody with a 20? Okay, yeah. The last part, 21 through 30 is really my favorite part. I mean, the first part is, there's a reason for, the first third, the second third, but the,
Sensei,
yes,
I have a question about 23.
okay, 23.
Yeah,
Okay.
so sometimes I see you and it seems like the figure eight goes right side and left, and other times it looks like you start on the right and then gets kind of cut short on the left side.
Left, right is double.
Yeah, sometimes it looks like it's
Okay, so right, left, back up here.
okay.
Right, left, back up here. Boom. Boom.
Okay,
Make more sense to you?
Yeah, it makes sense. I think maybe sometimes you do it so fast that to me, when I see it, it looks like one-sided and it goes right up over your head. I missed that
Well,
other.
yeah, when Hikizuchi says he did the changes, he didn't break it down for you. Then he put you out in front of the class, and when you goofed up, he shamed you. That was just an old style. But I'll tell you, when you learned it, it was part of you.
Mhm.
But you paid, you know, in other words, it's like, okay. And I've seen Yanase Sensei go out there and totally flub it because, you know, he was kind of feeling some pressure. You know, one time I got shamed along with Yanase Sensei. I thought, I'm in good company. But there's an area right here. Okay, when you learn it, you make notes and you can do it by looking at your notes. When you know it, it's like it's tattooed onto you. You lose your notes, you're in trouble. If it's tattooed onto you, it's part of you. And so part of what we're doing a little bit with the certifications is, and if you get something tattooed onto you, you know, if you were in love with somebody and you put on your forehead, I love so-and-so, and then you have a painful breakup or betrayal, okay, I think you could probably get the tattoo removed, but it's probably hard. So watch what you put on yourself. See what I mean? That's also part of the misogi. Okay, I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that's pretty much it. Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go through 1 through 30. Ready? And part of the gyo, misogi, that's why it's not a kata, okay, is I can do it in a group. I can do it looking at my notes. Notes are up here. It's tattooed onto you. And you've done that with careful deliberation. It's chosen the person to put the tattoo, and the tattoo with a lot of care. You want the tattoo. Okay, it's a tattoo. Okay, so I'll do a slight and an angle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30. Okay? Now, I'm going to have you all try it. You don't have to do it perfectly, but just give it a try. Okay?
Okay, we're not on it anymore.
Okay, let's check in. Okay, so what you find is you can do the first 10, but then you add the next 10, it gets a little Or you can get to where you can do the first 10 and the second 10. The third throws you. So being able to, in some sense, repeat it, it's not a kata. But part of the growth process is again, it's just tattooed onto you. You don't carry notes. If you carry notes, you can misplace them. But Sensei, told Alamo Sensei once, don't take notes. Do it, forget it. In other words, until it's part of you. Okay? Grafting it to your skin, putting it inside. That's the Gyo Misogi of it. Okay? Anybody with a question? So that was all 3 parts. Now you can work part number 1, part number 2, part number 3. We'll be putting this online as soon as David puts it there. I got to catch up with some of the past ones. It's been New Year and all this craziness with the invasion of the Capitol and everything. So I'm behind posting, but I'll post this one pretty quick. So if he puts it on, I'll post it. Okay? And it's good to go 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30. But then you got to run the whole, the first 2 sets and then the 3rd set. Okay? So anybody with a question or comment? Checking the time, we're fine. Okay, now, this goes back more to the Shingu roots. What is the second certification? The first certification is being able to do 30 movements in sequence. Okay, now the second one is being able to do the whole thing as one movement. No pause, but each form somewhat distinct. Okay? So, we're going to try it. Do you have to know the first certification to do the second? Yes, you do. But on the other hand, that doesn't mean you don't respectfully mess around and do the second one. Okay, you see what I mean? So, okay. What does it look like? 1 movement. It looks like that. I'm doing it a little fast. Okay. I'll step back, give myself a head on the screen. Now we're going to slow it down, but it's still going to be 1 movement. Okay, now you have to have the beginnings of the tattoo that you want put on you. Make sure you don't do something that you can't get off later. Okay, so you're flexible, but you're focused. So I'm going to have you try the full 30 the way of about the speed I did it, the last one, not the first one. So give it a try. You don't have to get it. So finish what you're on and we'll check in. Okay, anybody? And you may not be able to do that, that's fine. You focus on the first one, getting the sequence, but that doesn't mean you don't mess around, respectfully. I mean, Einstein would never have gotten the relativity theory if he just stuck to Newton. He had to start to mess around and say, oh my God, Newton doesn't seem to apply with large distances, in space like light years. So he had to create his own physics. He was messing around. And he made mistakes, which he had to mess around some more to correct. Okay? And they're still proving Einstein's theory right as science goes forward. Now, certain things he didn't do was figure out how Newton and his theory and quantum, the unified field, he didn't get that. But he knew that was the next step. Nobody's really gotten that yet, as far as I can tell. Well, Sensei had it. He was that unified field theory. No time, no space. There's a lot of stuff he had. I don't know whether he could translate it into figures on the blackboard. He tried with sounds and everything like that. Most people really didn't want to listen to him. They just wanted to move and work out. And the sacred, when you bring it into the social dimension, sometimes it doesn't translate. Okay. So what we're trying to do with this is trying to bring the sacred into the social. Okay, that's why I call it a misogi gyo, not a kata. But we need to socialize it. It's not done very well. Okay? So anybody with a question on that level 2?
Well, no, I'm like the train and green eggs and ham. I'm like cruising down the track and then suddenly the track disappears and I'm flying.
Yeah, that's part of the gyo. That's running into yourself. You see what I mean? That's running into yourself.
It's not remembering the next move.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So you go back into the first part. But, if all you do is that first part, you stay so wedded to the numbers, you never make it to the second part. And when you're in that second part, you may forget the sequence. That's why it's a gyo, a misogi. You're winning over yourself, not just getting the movement better in a memorized way. Okay? So, that's part of my justification for it. Then, let's just say all you get certified level 1. Okay, now 1 or 2 of you get the level 2. And then maybe you can have online meetings or meet at a park and coach each other. It builds a certain amount of community, a certain amount of growth. Okay, in doing that. We don't have that right now. No Q tests, no Don tests. But I think we can have some fun with this. Okay? You probably, you're training for a Q test, Cliff, and you couldn't get Sankyo through Yonkyo for a while. But then you could work with somebody, all of a sudden you could do the Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Sankyo, Yonkyo. And then maybe for black belt tests, you got to do Gokyo. Oh my God, another one. Okay, well, guess what? You're going to find somebody that's been through it that can coach you. And in doing that, you're social, but they're passing on information they got from someone. So that's what we're missing in these times. So we're trying to create it in another venue. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Now, if we were to go through the third level of certification. Now this is like, okay, hopefully you'll see the design of it. Okay, now the best thing here for the third level is training with the Bokken. Because it's about that focus at the end. You have a raise, a cut, and a focus. Or you can go a raise, a cutting motion, and a focusing. Okay? So the third would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't really have it, but 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So you can take each one of those, boom, and add that in. Now it looks like what you're doing is bringing a lot of muscle into it. Boom. That's a vibration. Right? I'm putting a lot of weight and power into that. No. Boom. 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 So the best way of actually getting that is to combine the 30 movements with some Boken work. Okay? Now, what's the fourth one? And we'll go back into the other room. The fourth one is sort of similar to the second one. The second one is just taking the form and being able to do it as one motion. The fourth one, like what we're doing, the third one is like every movement pretty much, except for this position here, is really about that boom, that focus. Now, the fourth one, if we were to say dawn-wise, that's more like 6th, 7th, 8th dawn. Because what you're doing is the full 30 off of that one focus. And let's try it right now. Okay. I broke a little bit the last two. That takes a lot of practice. Okay. But, you know, I'm not saying that you get the first one and then the next week you get the second one, the next week you get the third one. It's going to be a process of work. Okay. So let's go into the other room. Okay. So let's go here. So that's pretty much, you know, the whole program. Obviously, it starts with the level 1. Okay. But just being able to do the level 2, which means to some degree, you know, you're past. It's difficult, you know, to kind of do all 30 movements off of notes. Okay. So some of it's the beginnings of having the tattoo put on you, so you can't lose the notes. Okay. And then what happens is, you know, you the third one, you're choosing the tattoo artist pretty well. You know, you go in there to somebody who does a horrible job. No, you say, no, I really, this is going to last. So I'm going to find somebody and I'm going to look at their work and everything. That's the third one. And the fourth one, that's hard. All this stuff came up once and it wasn't in this form, but it was Tojima Sensei. And it was, when he visited in 1979, he was taking the Bojitsu, the long staff, Ikkyo. The first part of this is very much like that, okay? And what he did was it's about 35 movements. It's since not Ikkyo anymore. Hikizuchi Sensei found he certified it, changed the name, tested people, gave them rank in his system, everything like that. That's why we're not saying, it's like this is what we're doing. This is just to get some energy moving, okay? Right? But in order to go from the level 1 to the level 2, that's more winning over yourself. You don't have to do it. But you're going to have to put in more misogi. You're going to have to win over yourself a little bit more to go from level 1 to level 2. In level 3, you're going to have to win over yourself at level 2 to get to level 3. And level 4 is hard. But Tojima Sensei, he just said, okay, went through all the movements of the Ikkyo. And Hikizuchi Sensei absolutely flipped when you call it a kata. He flipped. And Tojima Sensei was interesting because, he was doing the movements. But then he said, okay, now we're going to try the whole thing as one move. Okay. And then he did it where he didn't say what he was doing, but he took, and then actually what it was, he went through each one, boom, and made sure, boom. And most people teach the form that way. But if you do it that way, you make it too much like Shotokan karate. Okay, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Shotokan karate. Okay, but there's a tendency to, right? And what happens is you get really strong here and here, but everything in between. I mean, one time I said I was sparring with a karate teacher, and for whatever reason, I did a Tai Chi move. Instead of going 1, 2, I went boom, and I hit him right in the face. He went, what was that? He was too used to block, punch, block, punch. And I went boom. I was so embarrassed because I didn't even know what I did. I realized, I did a repulse monkey move. He laughed about it. I thought he was going to kill me. He said, I'm not going to count that because it's a Chinese move. I said, fine. But, for whatever reason, I was doing the Shotokan, and all of a sudden I switched dimensions. Okay. So, the point is, it's another dimension of you. Okay. That's the tattoo process. All right. Now, if you like one tattoo, you might get a better tattoo done on the other side. All of a sudden you're a walking tattoo. Okay, I don't know, maybe that's a little, but that's pretty much what it is. All right. So, it's a little bit like you tattoo glory to God, and all of a sudden you convert to a Buddhist. You go, oh my God, I've got, see what I mean? There's a point where once you do that, so here you're constantly winning over yourself. That's the gyo. That's the the misogi. A more fancy term for it. I just odo no kamu waza. It's a form of misogi. It's what Izanagi did after Izanami had him chased out of the underworld and he was all shaken. He had to kind of go find a magical river, soak in it, because he was so rattled, he wasn't really a god anymore. And so the movements he did in the river were just soaking in that river, Odo no Kamu Waza. Okay, so that's my attempt at Odo no Kamu Waza. It's a beautiful term. I heard it, I thought I understood it. So I finally called Mary Heinies and said, Mary, can you tell me what Odo no Kamu Waza? And she explained, I said, yeah, okay. Thank you. All right. So, it has a basis in a lot of stuff, we're attempting to take the sacred, the Odo no Kamu Waza, and bring some of that into a more social dimension. That's not usually done very well. When you take the sacred and socialize it, it usually loses something. Okay? So here we're saying, okay, we're starting with it's not a kata, that's the whole thing. It's constant. Okay? So anybody with a question, level 1, level 2, level 3, or 1, 2, 3, 4, movement 30, I've got something I can probably give you some tips on just the movement. So the first step is obviously getting the 30 moves. That's level 1 certification. It's doable by anybody. You'll find that you're strong on this, you're weak on that. But when you can lead a group, I can spotlight you no matter where you are, you can lead the group. That's certification. It's about, and ultimately, a good leader is not leading a group. A good leader is leading himself or herself. And there's enough there that other people follow. And not in a rote, stupid, cultish way.
Hey, Sensei.
Okay. Yes.
So
Yes.
For level 2,
Yeah.
what is the the line between being sloppy and being like having flow between the movements?
It's called winning over yourself. And this is something that in a lot of ways you hear a lot. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but you'll kind of know because you'll have it's a different flavor. You see, I go the other way. I go, kind of, level 2 to level 1. Level 1 is like, oh my God, it's a bunch of numbers and everything. But I was given this task because I tended to kind of, this all made total sense to me because it's in the moment, it's creation in the moment, it's takemusu. Okay, but that's hard for a lot of people. Okay, yeah. So I figured, so I was given this task, to create a form. And it took me about a year. Now it was like, okay. I didn't know why the thumbs went up, on that, but okay. But in retrospect, it actually is a pretty damn good piece of information. So, I'd say, okay, whoever it was on the other side, I mean, the Do Sensei calls O Sensei in. So, we do this, for whatever reason, he seems to feel that he needs me to do that. So, so O Sensei said, Jack, this is your assignment. He gave the Do Sensei something else, but I can't remember what it was. But that was what it was. And so, recently I said, well, I kind of think I need to do something to get more spirit going, given the situation. So, I went in and had the Do Sensei call O Sensei in, and we went through this. He said, yeah, you got my permission. He said a lot of the other people, like Tohei and Saito and Hikizuchi Sensei even, they never asked his permission to certify to do that, although they all kind of did. Okay, so, I said, I'm not going to do this. So Bob, call him in, and the Sensei, yeah, do you really want to do this? I said, yeah, I got to do it because I can't, because it's so against my character. I feel like, okay, there's kind of like, okay, I understand your problem, Jack. Yes. Okay, whatever it is. So, that was kind of part of it. So it is elements. I mean, I learned, the first part of it is very much like the Shingu Bojutsu style. Up north, they thrust, they go right, boom. That's kind of like entering for Shomenuchi Ikkyo, boom, boom, boom. And down south, they went this way. They went left, and then down. But this motion, boom, is more like the Tenkan motion, but it also is a lot like Irimi Nage, boom, or Tenchi Nage. All right. So I prefer the movement to the left. And some of the hand changes, most of them I learned from Hikizuchi Sensei. And then the last couple Kato sensei, when he was coming, he kind of had his own sensei basis. Okay, this is Yonkyo, this is Gokyo. I went, yeah, that makes sense. Ikizuchi sensei was never very, very clear about Yonkyo, Gokyo. So I figured, okay, he probably got that from Mo sensei on some level, even though it was subliminal. So I said, yeah, so I included, in the first 20 movements, the hand changes, Ikkyo, Nikkyo, Sankyo, Yonkyo, Gokyo. They're all in there. A lot of the other sets, they don't. They really don't include the 5 basic hand changes. But also, you are learning the Tai Sabaki that's being taught. I mean, it's a little bit like, there's Christ and there's Christianity. And I look at O-sensei a little bit, not that he's Christ or anything, but there are organizations that codify and everything, and entering, turning. No, the Tai Sabaki is really very subtle. And that picture on here, I don't know if you get a really good picture of it, but you see O-sensei is not, he's standing in a spear posture. And that, enter, turn. No, there's that, and then the turn comes off of that. And so, that's why I made it not just staff, but a type of, you can adapt it to spear. For most of you, I'd recommend is don't sharpen it, because you make a mistake, you might poke your eye or poke somebody else, or hit a vital part of your body that you don't, So make your mistakes by taping one end so you get a sense for what that is. I mean, the other stuff is, I think, what happens, I was doing that. So Harry Concepcion Sensei did it. And I realized, I was teaching at I think it was Linda Holiday Sensei's summer retreat in Santa Cruz. I said, word of caution, just because you see a couple of people with that, you can really hurt yourself for somebody else. Tape it. As a disclaimer. Just because you see teachers doing that doesn't mean you should sharpen your end and then all of a sudden poke yourself in the eye. That may happen anyway, even though you know it. So that's why it's Shinken, live blade. There's a difference between working with even a symbolic spear as opposed to a stick. A stick, is striking both this way and this way. A spear is to thrust, penetrate, cut, not strike. If you're going to block, you're going to block here. You're not going to block with a spear point. But then, you can change ends, boom. And then right here, that spear point moving in a multiple situation, you've got sharp steel that can cut or pierce, and you create a protective field around you. Okay? Ikizuchi Sensei used to do that. He used to kind of, one time I was with him, in Tokyo at an All Japan Aikido demonstration. So, the whole dojo went. And so it gets time for him to get out there, and, the taiko drum, boom, 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 boom. And he's in a white, he's all in white, which he was different than a hakama. And so, he, at some point, gets his staff out, it's a long staff. He starts whipping it around like Bruce Lee with nunchaku. Then he motions to me, and I realize, oh my God, I'm supposed to grab it. And what happened is, because what it is a posture. You're supposed to go in there and take it. If you don't, this starts again. So you become kind of sensitive, right? And what happens is, okay, the very last one, he was facing back, so I was coming in, and he kind of went like this and got me right in the stomach. And it just uprooted me like Tai Chi. Didn't hurt me. I went back that way, and I was immortalized because that was a photo of the demonstration that we did that was put on the Aikido Shimbun. Me going, after, the point is here. So I don't have a copy of it, but, it was kind of funny. It was trippy. It was very trippy. Okay, so, that point right there is just, And then later he kind of, I wouldn't say he sold out, but it's kind of like, okay, now we'll call it Masakatsu Bojutsu. And this is this, that, and certifications. That's one of the reasons I really wanted to ask O-sensei. Okay, because I really didn't want to charge money for it. It'd be nice to get some new income sources because a lot of people are canceling memberships and everything. So we're kind of, but you know, what I'm thinking is if you're a member of the dojo, it's covered in your membership. If somebody else from another school is interested, then maybe we say there's a donation requested or something like that. But right now, this is just to kind of get, you know, the spirit of the school flowing a little more than it has been. So, you know, it's my attempt to do that. Anybody with a question or comment? This is a good instructional one. So what we'll do, David, if you could post it, I'll put it on YouTube. So, you know, if you really want to go through it, we went through it in pretty good detail today. Okay, but, and this is important, everybody can do it in a group or they can do it carrying notes. Okay, so when you can feel, and you don't have to get it perfect, because part of the, you know, the test is you lead. Doesn't matter what rank you are, you lead. Okay? And you don't have to get it perfect. But when you do that, it's kind of like a tattoo. Can you imagine, you know, you wind up, instead of getting a certificate for Shodan, you get it tattooed to you. Well, guess what? Then you got to find a place to put your next rank and your next rank and your next rank. And all of a sudden you go, oh my God, all my certificates are tattooed. There's no more room. Maybe my tongue. You see what I mean? So, you know, you got to create space. That's the whole thing. You learn the first one so well, then you got to clear, win over yourself, do the second level. And then you can do the second level and the first one, you got to clear, let go of that one. It's not that you forget, but it's like you graduate to where you can close each movement. I say a little bit, to get that one, I would recommend you start working with the bokken, because the bokken really is about that closing motion. It's about opening, raising, striking, but boom, boom, okay? And when you can do that, boom, boom. Tojima Sensei was really good with that. You know, as much as I learned a lot from Hikizuchi Sensei, I learned a lot from watching Tojima Sensei just mess around with it. I remember one time, all he did after class, he took the 35 movements of Ikkyo, the first Bojutsu set, and he started doing each movement to a different one of the 8 corners. And just those basic changes, I said, you know, he looks like a sensei out there. He's not doing fancy moves at all. And then he came to the stage and he says, okay, now do it as one movement. Do it, boom, put in focus behind each of them, a closing motion. Now do the whole thing as one closing motion, one focus. And yeah, I couldn't do it then. Okay. In fact, you know, if you were to ask me, did I really work at it? Kind of, but I continued to mess around with it. And then at some point, I'm just like that crazy, I did a kind of a Stephen Curry half-court shot. I didn't even know I could do it. I didn't even know I could get it there. One day, you know, I go to the Y and I realized I can get it there. I had to go back the next day to make one. And then I started doing, you know, I got pretty good at it for a while, you know, where, you know, there's half-court game going on. And so when they're over here to get one shot, I got to where I could take one shot and make it from there. One dribble, one boom, from the corner there. So it's pretty much a half-court shot. I didn't know I could do it. But what was I doing? Respectfully messing around. So that's what this is about. Because when you do that, you have a chance to win over yourself. This is linear, okay? The promotion, but you'll kind of know, God, yeah, all right, ooh, okay. And you know, that gives you a little bit we call personal power. And the world is so crazy, it's spinning, that's a circle out of control. You being in the center needs some degree of personal power to get you more equal to the spin of the world situation right now. So hopefully we can get the dojo, you know, and people in the dojo behind this somewhat. I don't know if it'll work or not, but, you know, just letting it drift is not going to help us. So it builds community. You know, it'll somewhat our attempt to take, you know, the place of Q and Don exams. But it may go further than that. Now, the other thing that I've been kind of realizing is that the term takemusu is a little, that's pretty big. But, you know, there are other things like for example, the movements 21 through 30. When you can kind of do those as one move, you're starting to begin to look like O-sensei. All right, there's various changes I've come up with. But when you can just say, okay, there's this moment, and then there's that moment, there's that, and then this motion, moment, boom. That to me is the takemusu. You go to a different moment. You create a whole different sequence. Now it's creating off of the basics that are in the 30 movements. You see, but it's a little bit like, you know, you play in music. I mean, I listen to Chet Baker, you know, play some, even the melody. And then I listen to myself and I realize, oh my God, every time he plays a melody, it's different. So even within the structure of the melody, he never played it twice the same way. I talked to Art Frank, his good friend, said, yeah, Chet never played anything twice the same way, but it was still the same song. And then I began to realize, I can do that. Not as well, but I can do that. So that's the way I play now. Even, you know, with the actual da 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 da, you can go da 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 da. You got different shades. You know, you're still doing 4 beats in a bar, but you can take a set series of notes, give it a whole different feel. And so, you know, Baker for me, even though he's not an Aikidoist, he's takemusu, right? So, you know, how far this goes, I don't know. Really goes as far as we want to develop. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to call it for today. There's Tai Chi second class tonight. What I think I'm going to do instead of putting it on YouTube is I realize what I can do is it's Dropbox. So I can send everybody a video link to it, which saves me a lot of time, you know. So we'll get that done today. It's been a crazy week, all this stuff going on. So I'm behind on getting the videos online. But David, you would put that there. I'll get this on as soon as possible. So we can start working on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei.
Take care. He says, you know, I thought I would do more Aikido movements, but So he kind of went on and did a much more detailed thing around stuff he's interested in. So put about 5 minutes in. Okay. True Budo can never be a sport. In Budo, we strive to refine and perfect our characters. If we can perfect our characters, we can accomplish anything in that spirit. We as human beings can protect the environment from harm. Our country never developed Western-style competitive sports. Of course, he's talking fairly soon after World War II and the occupation. Okay. Sports are games and a form of play. They are games played by physical entities, not matters of the spirit. In other words, they involve mere competition. Budo, however, is a means to maintain and promote harmony. It is combat in the spiritual realm. Okay. So I think those words are important these days. The world itself is not in harmony because, so many companies are competing against each other to get profits and corner the market. And you don't see this so much play. Sports are sports, but political parties, corporations are kind of in a very competitive mode to win. Okay? In other words, they involve mere competition. Buddha, however, is a means to maintain and promote harmony. It is combat in the spiritual realm ruled by love. Buddha helps make the world prosper. So he's talking about something that, at least on this plane right now, is definitely not anything that's to the forefront. People know this, but the actual structure of things, the structure of the environment, the structure of the political parties, it's a very different thing than what he's talking about. Okay. Our way is a fight to the finish. Okay, fight to the finish, I think probably, I haven't looked at the original Japanese, but the term in Japanese, I believe, is Shinken Shobu. An encounter with live blades. In other words, it's not a contest. It's life and death. But then again, he's saying that combat goes into the spiritual realm. So to some degree, what we're talking about is not cutting each other down. Okay, although if you draw a sword, I've done this, used to do Iaido, and you're careless, you cut yourself. You bleed. So you sort of learn, okay. All right, there's that little extra. And then it's not just purely a dance, okay? We strive ceaselessly to unify body and spirit and create harmony in all physical and spiritual spheres. We make things develop. We base our activities on love. Okay? In simpler terms, we call this process the cosmic breath of Ah, which John Stevens calls Alpha, and Omega, symbolizing the unity of body and spirit. In Shinto cosmology, this process is described as the interaction between the gods Izanagi and Izanami. Izanagi being kind of what we call the masculine deity, and Izanami, the feminine deity that created the present world. We should express our gratitude to the great gods through prayer every day. Nothing is better than this kind of prayer. Even if we are feeling poorly or sore in body, prayer will restore us. I have always had this experience in my prayers. I imagine myself standing on the platform of heaven while facing east and offering reverence. I am standing in the middle of the planet together with all things of heaven and earth, giving thanks for my existence. This is the true Aikido. This is Takemusu. This is the harmonization of the essence of fire and water. So these are very interesting words, okay? And I just thought I would start out with this. But I want to do a little bit because he's here, okay? We had a class in the park, and we actually had our first certification. So David Eves Sensei, he actually got up, led the class, and I sort of certified him as, in fact, this is a prototype, so we need to get it on better paper, but we'll kind of hopefully do that and make a presentation next outdoors training on Saturday.
Yay.
Yes, I know, isn't that crazy? We actually have something here. I sat down. I like this photo. You know, it's one that I hadn't seen before, but it's O-sensei with a three-sided spear. And these are the characters Katsu Haya Hi or Katsu Haya Bi, okay, which, you know, translates a lot in a variety of different things. Do the Aikido that cannot be seen with the human eye is one. Hikizuchi Sensei used to say, Jikan to kukan no chutsu shita hayasa de aru. It's that speed which is beyond time and space. Okay, so the spear was Sensei's training, and I was coming back from Japan the first time. I was given a fan that Hikizuchi Sensei did with these characters. These are O-sensei's characters. And he just said that that was in a lot of ways in which you're aiming towards an Aikido. The true Budo comes out of the, you know, just basically you train the spirit through the body to achieve a level of Katsu Hayahi, Katsu Hayabi. And things like the staff, spear, or the sword, or bokken, they are training in Katsu Hayahi. So I just thought I would kind of put that all together. And I had worked a little bit on editing here. There are a couple other prototypes which are behind this. This isn't going to be the presentation, but we kind of need to have a better grade of paper for this to be done. So,
Mazel tov, David.
yes, let me go. Yes, so anyway, so that's our first certification. My intention in doing this is just to create some spirit, because, you know, we normally as a dojo have Q exams, Dan exams, and that creates growth. Okay, if you're going to train for a rank, whether it's Q or Dan, you usually start to work with somebody who's been there. They pass their knowledge on to you. So in that, you know, it builds community. Also, people gather to support the candidates. We don't have that right now, you know, in that form. So what we're doing is we're endeavoring to, this is probably not a replacement, but this is the best we can do right now. Okay, so we'll be doing that. I envision, okay, 4 levels of certification. The first one, as David Sensei did, he just simply led a class in the 30 movements. What does that mean? Okay, that's probably what we'll do, you know, for those in the park. We can also do that, by the way, online. So you don't have to be physically present to undergo a test. I would just spotlight you and have you lead the group in the 30 movements. Okay, but when you're leading, you're not following the group. You see what I mean? You're leading the group. Okay, the most important leadership is that you learn to lead yourself. Okay, you see what I mean? There's an area where we get caught up in group, which is good. Better to have a group, better to have a variety of people present. But the test, in some sense, is not so much, okay, I know the movements, because you may know when you're in a group, but all of a sudden, the test is to lead, whether it's online or outside in the park where we do our classes. And so all of a sudden, you're the lead person. Now, the thing is, the most important practice you do is where you lead yourself. So this is why I call this not a kata, okay, but it is what I call a misogi or a gyo, which is written on the certificate. Certification for level 1 of the 30 movement Misogi Gyo for Aikido Spearman staff has been awarded to, and here it's David Eves, the 16th day of January, which was Saturday, 2021. We commend his dedication and leadership. Okay? And one of the things that is very important that Aikido is supposed to do, we have a structure. Okay, the teacher tends to lead the practice, okay? But then again, so much of this is during this time. Everybody here at a time when it's very difficult to kind of continue the training has enough leadership of their own time and energy that you're turning into an Aikido class, okay? Some people do that by going online. Some people stay more connected through, hopefully, the weekend classes. The attendance has been up since the New Year. That's good, okay? But this is about leading yourself. Well, since they called it masaka, winning over yourself. Why? It's easy to do in a group, okay? And, we had on the 6th of this month, a group that got out of control, although we're finding more and more that it was seeded. There was a lot of intelligence and planning in it. But there were a lot of people that went along with the group flow that weren't part of the planning infrastructure of that insurrection. And so a lot of times groups are fine, but we lump ourselves in a group. Now, the time you spend with yourself is learning to lead yourself. Masaka. And agatsu, a lot of times that's winning over yourself. We don't want to do that. We want to follow, okay? And so when that happens, of course, a lot of times it's good. You choose your group, you choose your tribe. Okay, but there's kind of a danger, when I'm following that, and all of a sudden, I lose the ability to win over myself. I get lazy, I drift, I have a hollowness where I listen to a lot of propaganda because I have this energy, but it has no structure for me. All right, if I lead myself, I say, I can get behind that, I can't get behind that. Well, since it talks about the sword of truth, it's called discrimination. I believe that, but I don't believe in taking an extreme action in that, okay? Or conversely, I believe in the extreme action of peaceful demonstration. That's the sword of truth. So since they said it's all based on love. And we can be twisted. You love our country, make it great. The words are good. But the spin, and all of a sudden, a whole group of people are leading that spin. And then all of a sudden, you find that there's a lot more planning. It's not just people following that spin. And so it goes to the point where the sort of truth or discrimination, if you really love something, do you really want to destroy things? And so, the introspection, the winning over ourselves, we learn to lead ourselves. Okay. And so one of the things about the certification is I just said, well, okay, David Sensei, take the group, you lead it. He didn't even know he was taking a test, but he was able to go through the 30 movements. But I was saying, okay, I'm a part of a group going through it. Well, I'm part of a group vandalizing the Capitol, and I get carried away, and I just all of a sudden start destroying things. It's like, okay, that particular thing, you got to win over yourself, which means, of course, we lead ourselves. And then a bunch of people who lead themselves that have the sword of truth create what Sensei called heaven on earth. Okay? in the sword of truth, discrimination, whatever you want to call it, operates off of love. So, you know, this is my modest way of trying to get more group energy, give a goal, all right? Not overturn the election, just simply be able to learn the 30 movements in a way that you can lead a group. That's the test. Okay, so we're going to move into the other room. I'm going to switch to, for now, the big screen. Okay. For a change, we have everything sort of set up. Okay.
Bye, everyone.
See ya.
And congratulations again, David.
Yay, thank you.
Leveling up.